What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Max Manus Pod. Appreciate you guys sticking around. Know it's been a little while since we put out the last episode, but been rethinking some things for the pod. First off, you guys might have noticed we got some new graphics, like the YouTube format and some stuff like that, which I have to give a big shout out to my guy, Benji Goldstein, who I think absolutely crushed everything. So I'm really, really excited about how that all looks. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different from the past episodes that we've done. I think you guys know that the vibe I've tried to go for with past episodes has been kind of talking to guys about their whole baseball journey and how they got where they are, why they love baseball in the first place, all that good stuff. And I do still want to do plenty of that, but I want to try out talking about some like topical stuff too. And obviously the Yankees have been in the headlines quite a bit over the last number of months with all the crazy. Well, they're honestly on a hell of a winning streak now, which is crazy because when I'd initially wanted to talk with Cameron Maybin about this, it was while the Yankees were in a bit of a swoon, but I still think the conversation was great. But yeah, Cameron Maybin came on, joined me today. He was an awesome guest. He's been a dude who's followed me on Twitter for a little while now, always been super cool to me, and seemed like genuinely like really, really interested in wanting to kind of hash it out and have a real conversation about his experience with the Yankees and fan and outsider perceptions about Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman and organizational structure and a lot of the criticisms and which ones are and aren't fair. I will say, if you're not a Yankees fan, don't be concerned. I think that towards the end of the episode, we had a really interesting dialogue kind of about the place of analytics in the game as a whole and about different managers and organizations that Maybin played for. And, the conversation ended up stretching well beyond just Yankees stuff. But if you're a Yankees fan, I do think you'll like today's episode an extra little bit. I definitely want to have Cam back on at some point in the offseason to kind of do a more traditional Max Manus Pod episode with him, but also want to branch out a little bit. So I guess let me know what you guys think about these like more topical type episodes. I thought it went really great. So let me know what you guys thought. I'm open to all feedback, but I was really, really happy with how it turned out. And I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did. I thought it was some of the best like back and forth dialogue I've had on this podcast, with kind of going back with guests about my opinions and theirs and really hashing it out. Like there were some points where some of you guys might think it got a little bit like contentious from the way you hear it. From the way I experienced it, I genuinely thought it was just really good ball talk between two dudes who just love baseball, and I thought we ended at a really good kind of middle ground on it. So let me know what you guys think, and without further ado, let's get into the episode. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Max Manus Pod. Really, really excited for today's episode. I wanted to do something topical, something Yankees focused, because the Yankees, it's been a big couple months in the storylines for the Yankees. So I thought, what better way to talk about them than to bring in somebody who's actually been inside that clubhouse, knows the people that are in the headlines, and I don't think we could have gotten someone better than this guy right here. Cameron Maybin, what's going on, man?
Man, I appreciate you having me on, Max. I just want to say, first off, I love what you're doing, man. Keep doing it. Keep giving an honest, unbiased, but somewhat Yankees fan opinion. I like the way you go about your business, man. And that's why I'm on today. Let's talk about it.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I appreciate that a ton. We talked a little bit before we hopped on here, and I kind of said that exact same thing to you, that like it would be very easy to come on here and just like kind of scream and give a bunch of angry takes and say fire everybody, but like that's not really what I'm about. And I think you're perfect because we don't have to get into it necessarily. We don't have to name names, but there maybe some other former Yankees players that were on that 2019 team that have been running their mouths a little bit with a lot of that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad that we have someone on here that can give a little bit more of like a fair, balanced take.
Absolutely. That's what I'm all about. Unbiased and just kind of my honest opinion, especially when you talk about my experience.
Awesome. Okay, so I guess let's start from here. I'm an outsider in a lot of ways to the baseball world in that I'm not in a locker room regularly. I work in baseball, which is awesome. But as much as I know about baseball and as much as I'm passionate, I try to always remind myself that no matter how dialed in I am, I know maybe 1% of what goes on behind the scenes. So I guess let's start it this way. What do you think people who aren't necessarily in the clubhouse, in that scene every day, get right and wrong about the Yankees, about Aaron Boone, about the front office, about all these like big names that people throw out there? I guess, give me your take as someone who lived it.
Well, first off, you're not the only one that's in a very small percent of people who, you can only, think so much about what may be going on and speculate so much about what might be going on behind the scenes. And I think that's just a part of it, right? Being a fan and actually being a player, being a manager, being a clubby, or somebody that's just in there, like in the mix and in the scene. And it is a lot different, a lot different when you talk about, I spoke about this a few weeks ago. We as athletes get trained to answer questions professionally, right? First and foremost, right? You're taught to be genuine, but first and foremost, you're taught to be, professional and give a politically correct answer and, keep it short and keep it clean and keep it simple. So, for the most part, especially the older generation, right? There's a way that you go about your business. And there's a way that you handle media per se, right? There was a coaching element to it that we all went through on how you're supposed to handle the media. So I think a lot of it is, you're as a fan, I know it can be frustrating because you're only getting so much of the genuine aspect, right? You're getting a lot of the cliches and a lot of politically correct answers in front of the camera. And now being on this end, I totally get it, right? I totally get it as a fan where, really there are moments where you guys are watching the games just like we go out and play them and we're watching them as well. And fans just want accountability, right? They just want to hear accountability to them, right? It's almost like, hey, you go out and you say whatever you need to say behind doors. But as fans, like, this is the shit that we don't want to hear. We want to hear you literally tell us what you're feeling, not what you believe that the players appreciate, because the players appreciate Aaron Boone more than fans realize, right? And that's the part that I do know. But from a fan standpoint, I totally get it and I totally understand the moments of frustration when they're not hearing what I think everybody is feeling. And I just think sometimes it's where it's like honesty, even though you don't want to hear it, it just makes you feel better when you know you got the honest truth from somebody.
Yeah, so I think you're touching on something that a lot of Yankees fans resonate with, which is that especially the Yankees are very PR trained, very buttoned up, and they hold that in a very high regard. Like that's something they're not willing to break on. And I think that's valid in a lot of ways. Like I think that's if compared to the extreme opposite of just letting it all loose. Yep. Like I totally understand why teams want that. I think where it gets frustrating for fans is that there's a level of truth-telling and there's a level of or let me think about a better way to say this.
Delusion.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes it sounds delusional. And I would say delusional like Boone's delusional because he's not. But there's a level of I don't know what you mean. There's a level of just accountability that fans want to hear. And it's like we know it's going and I can't speak for fans, and not to cut you off, I think it's like this. It's like I think fans, to an extent, do they appreciate how Boone has the players back? Yes. But fans, they want to literally hear yo, are you pissed off that we're making errors? Are you pissed off that we're running the bases back? Are you pissed off that we bring in guys and they're not throwing strikes and we can't get outs? And are you are you pissed off? Are you? I think sometimes fans just want to connect, right? It's one thing to be the manager, and I think that's where my guy Boone, I told you, I will forever be Team Boone. But I just think at times fans more than anything, and maybe he hasn't understood it from a fan point of view. They just want to connect with you, right? Especially when you talk about New York Yankees fans, that might be the most loyal, fan base. When you talk about, when the team loses, the we is real. We lost, and I told somebody that it's an investment that I felt in no other, organization that I've been a part of. When you talk about the fan investment, it's not the Yankees lost, it's we lost, and I get it, and I know fans aren't out there. But it was the first time I got it, and I had to, and I went and played and was like, I want to win because these guys and these people are with us every pitch, every out. They feel it like we feel it. So I just think what gets lost sometimes is that the fans want to feel connected to you too, Booney, and I think that's where it gets lost sometimes. We get the politically correct answer, but we want to connect. We bleed, we fight, we lose. We got to hear this shit too when we lose in the World Series and we play like crap. And so we want to feel connected. And I think that's the part that's just a little bit that's missing from Boone.
Right. So, yeah, you talked about the word accountability. That's a word that I wanted to talk about because I think as fans, a lot of the time, say you're a Yankees fan, say the Yankees lose, say it was a game where there wasn't necessarily one play or one player or one thing that's easy to point to as that's why we lost. Everybody wants to point the finger at something, right? And I feel like that's where fans for a long time would kind of, whether it was like analytics or accountability, like I feel like fans would kind of pick this thing that they were like, this is what we're angry at, when it didn't necessarily have a lot of basis to it at the start. And I feel like the Yankees got so used to hearing that, and that they just said like, okay, listen, these fans are going to complain no matter what. Like, they just want someone to point the finger at. Like, we're not going to concern ourselves with this. That they didn't realize that it swung so far in the opposite direction that it's like, guys, when you have like, you know, like there were times where, you know, I think it was a game in 2023 where the Yankees struck out like 20 times in a game, and Boone had a post-game quote where he said something like that. Well, you know, there were some positives to take from those strikeouts. And it's like, on one hand, I understand that Aaron Boone was brought in to be the positive guy. I understand that he's a Cali guy. He's very like, you know, kind of keep it mellow, keep it level-headed, keep it moving. Like, we're not going to get extreme. But you need to be objective at a certain point, right? And I think that's what's really frustrating to fans is if we can't have a baseline level of agreement of like, hey, bringing in the same relief pitcher who blew the game last night and has been a great reliever throughout his career, but's clearly going through a stretch right now, you can't just tell yourself like, oh, you know, that's baseball. Like, at a certain point, you need to take the reins a little bit, and you have to understand you can't just dismiss what the fans are saying as like, oh, those guys are, you know, they're just fans. They're just being angry at things like they always are. It's like, well, you lose a lot of credibility if you're not even willing to give us 5%, give us 10%, give us something that shows that you understand where the frustrations are coming from. Because if you can't give us anything, then the fans are just going to say like, all right, we're not having a conversation with with like a reasonable person here. This is someone that clearly just has a narrative that they're trying to advance, and I understand why they want to advance that narrative. I understand that, you know, whether it was Boone or Cashman or whoever you want to throw out there, different people are in their seats in the organization for specific reasons. Like I've always said, I think it's kind of ridiculous to like, people will be like, Boone should be more like Cora, more like, you know, whatever manager you want to throw out there. I think it's a much more fair take to say.
Well, first off, those people who say that have never played for Cora or anybody else. I played for all of them, and they have a lot of similarities. First off, Alex Cora, AJ Hinch, two of the smartest baseball men I've ever been around. And Carlos Beltran, I say it all the time, two of the smartest people I've ever been around. Aaron Boone, also, they all share a lot of the same qualities. One, guys love, and this is kind of answer your point, because I love what you're saying about the fans, but this is where I come into play. This is where I like to rebuttal and say where Alex Cora, AJ Hinch, they're all very similar in the answers they give, right? Alex Cora, a little bit more accountable, a little bit more with the media and saying, hey, we need to do this better, that better, this better, for sure. AJ Hinch, very similar, but what they all do very well is they never throw their players under the bus, ever. So as someone as a fan feel like you lose accountability with the fans, would you rather your manager lose accountability with the fans or the player? That's the biggest question, right? That we forget to propose as we want Bruni to be like, Devin Williams got to do this, and this guy needs to do this, and we got to do this, and we got to do that. Well, guess what he has to do? He's got to go back in the clubhouse, right? And what he does when he goes back in the clubhouse is Aaron Boone, because I had him, he keeps guys accountable. But there's a level of keeping guys accountable, and we just live in a day and age where people are sensitive as hell. He goes out and he goes in front of the podium and he's like, well, Devin Williams has got to be better. We didn't bring him over for this. This is unacceptable. And underneath OP, he needs to make better at it. He's got a gold glove. He's a silver gold glover, and he needs to be doing it. These guys, more times than not, the day and age we live in, are sensitive as hell. They turn on the TV. They watch TVs. They watch the clips. They go to X. They go to X and see clip after clip and thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people of Aaron Boone bashing him. Guess what happens? Now the media comes in. Hey, what do you feel about Booney saying this about you? Hey, what do you feel about Booney saying this about you? Hey, what do you feel? Now all of a sudden, the task at hand, Booney's job to try to get these guys ready, to try to get them past the noise, right? Good and bad, because the thing about baseball is you got to turn the page, good and bad. Grow on the good, take and learn from the bad, but it's just a fine line of what he can't do is, and he's very good at it. And one thing he's good at is communicating with players, right? Letting you know what's going on prior to. Hey, come to my office, see me before you come in. Hey, this is what we got going on. Blah blah blah. This is what I see. he's very accountable, and that's why the players trust him. That's why the players love him. And in the realm of what is New York sports, it's going to be hard to find guys, Girardis, guys that can handle the scrutiny. He's one of the few guys, like I said, Stanton and Boone, very similar. Just take that shit on the chin. Stanton is, they love him right now. Let him go a week and not hit, and it's gonna be back to, oh, we hate him, get him out of here. Same OG. Playoffs come around, we love him again. But guess what they do? They step up, they wear it, they take it. It's very few guys that can handle even these conversations, right? The scrutiny of what it is to be a manager, a player, a New York entertainer, right? It's you can't have somebody that's sensitive, but at the same time, I understand the fans just wanting somebody to connect with, right? They want that manager, and I'm just using Ron Washington. Ron Washington gonna call everybody out. They don't like it. It's ugly. And again, you know what I mean? And you have fans that appreciate that, because at the end of the day, when fans see that the manager acknowledges what's going on, they can go, okay, all right, at least I feel better about this guy, at least acknowledging it. So I just think it's almost like the translation barrier, right? The communication barrier. I just think it'd be a little bit better on Boone going, hey, listen, you can go in front of the media. You can say, hey, we have to play better. And I'm sure he has eventually. It's not as much as we want to hear, but there've been moments where you want to hear, like, listen, we gotta get it together. We are better than this. We beat ourselves time and time again. When we do lose, it's self-inflicted. And this isn't Yankee baseball. Like, this crap can't continue to happen. And it starts with me. I've got to do a better job and make sure I'm preparing our guys. And it just takes one or two of those to just a little bit more vigor, a little bit more feeling behind it. The fans, again, it's like I said, it's not about losing, it's how you lose. It's not about what he's saying, it's about how he's saying it to the fans. But I also say, on the other end, he's got to manage the fan base, but he's also got to be with these guys 24/7 almost. You know what I mean? Like, these are his kids, his family, and they got to look at these guys. So you got to make sure you're keeping these guys confident in the day and age where it's so much backlash and scrutiny, and this guy is struggling, and this guy can't do that. The last thing you want while you're getting critiqued by millions of people is your manager also throwing you under the bus too, right? I always tell my wife, I said, I go to a job. You go to a job where you're getting scrutinized and you're getting picked apart by thousands and millions of people don't even know you. When you come home, last thing you want is your wife doing the same thing, right? You want to just come home to same thing with the manager. You're going to get scrutinized, you're going to get bashed, you're going to get thrown around. Last thing you want is the one place you feel safe, the clubhouse. You come in and your manager's like, and you look at him, you're like, dang, that dude just threw me under the bus like no other. So I think it's...
Right, well, I agree with a lot of what you said. I think the place where I would push back is you kind of presented it. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you presented it something along the lines of, like, either you're going to lose the players or you're going to lose the fan base. And you got to understand that, like, his job is to look after the players, right? Like, I understand that Aaron Boone's job is not just to tell the Yankees fans what they want to feel. Yeah. But I think Yankees fans would push back on this idea that, like, it has to be a binary. It has to be one or the other.
Delivery's important. You're right. Delivery, and if I came off, if I came off like that, you're right, Max. Because what I do mean, and I love it. What I mean is, when I talk about that's why I said the translation barrier, the communication barrier has been lost. And meaning, my boy Boone hasn't learned how to, because he cares and because he doesn't want to lose the clubhouse. I do it all the time. I coach 16-year-olds, and it's the same kind of thing I always say. There's ways to tell people you screwed up, but also, like, lift them up, right? Like, I can tell you, hey, Max, like, listen, Max, what the hell are you doing, bro? Like, what are you doing? Like, do you understand if you lock in, do you know how good you can be? Like, I need you to lock in. Like, you're better than that, bro. Like, you can't, like, I understand making mistakes, but you're better than that, Max. Like, you're nasty, bro. Like, you're the best out there if you lock in. Like, but I think everybody don't have that Cam Maybin delivery, right? Like, yeah, we got to play better. We got to pull our head out of our ass because we playing crappy on defense. We're running the bases terrible. We're not pitching the contact. We're not trusting the defense. Like, this is not it, right? And it starts with me. Maybe I haven't done my job to make sure my guys are ready. But moving forward, we will be ready. You know what I'm saying? But I think he just hasn't learned how to portray it to the media and also not feeling like he's throwing his guys under the bus. So what you're saying is exactly right. It's not one or the other, but he's got to figure out how to communicate it to where Yeah, when they do look at it on TV, the guys are like, "Damn, all right, shit, okay." But I'm not taking it personal. He's right. You know what I mean? So it's all
Right.
about delivery.
Yeah, like there's a right and wrong way to do it. And I think that for a lot of fans, it just feels like the Yankees kind of a lot of times can fall into this trap where the Yankees try to be kind of like earmuffs, like we're doing our job. We don't want to listen to any outsiders, which is an admirable and positive in a lot of ways. And I totally understand why, in a lot of ways, that's their mindset. And I see the value to that. But I think that a lot of times they go so extreme in that direction that it feels like they say any criticisms of us are just outsiders that don't know what they're talking about. And it's like, well, when the outsiders are the ones saying, hey, you made 6 errors
Well, it also
tonight.
makes you wonder too. So, and again, the other point is, media, fans, and I guess people like yourself, people in the media. First off, have a job. Let's go media first. Media, they have a job to do. There's a job to do. But what happens is there becomes a point where fans, you give the cliche answer so much that fans start to go, do you actually even care? You know, it is. So I get it, right? There comes a point where it's like, I get it, but like, dude, it's serious, right? It gets fast. I always say it gets fast late. When you say, oh, it's early. Well, it gets fast real late. We're playing crappy baseball. At some point, it has to come off to the fans because we're in it. Because at the end of the day, the fans make this thing go round, right? Right? The players are the product, but the fans make this thing go round. So there's got to be some type, that's what I mean, like some type of connection to be like, yo, this ain't cool. I'm with you, fans. This shit ain't it. We got to do better, and it starts with me. So I think, like you said, there just becomes a point where it's like, okay, enough is enough. We get it. We appreciate you trying to be positive, but reality has to set in too, right? And I just think that's why I say the communication barrier could just be a little bit better. Like, we appreciate it. We get it, guys, but some accountability would go a long way with the fans. And you'd be surprised too, probably how fans start to react. Hell, you might get more cheers or whatever. You might get some more leniency because you keep guys accountable to the media. We saw Dave Roberts just do it. Dave Roberts just called out a veteran. Not to bring up the Dodgers, but I'm like, but then I hear people, and I know you said no names, it's like, did Dave Roberts, he's wrong calling out his veteran player? Hell no. Like, every once in a while you gotta do it. Like, that's the problem with me, is that we're questioning, is he in the wrong for calling him out? Man, he saw something he didn't like. For me, that's leadership, you know? So again, I just think there's a level, but Dave also gets it. The fans care, right? And not saying Boone doesn't think the fans care because he's in New York, he knows the fans care, but again, that's certain guys understanding the room a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Fans matter, you know, and I think that, not to say one doesn't care more than the other, but I think that's just a situation where if a fan's watching the game and they see Teoscar do what he does and the effort doesn't look there and they're like, what the hell? Dave is like, I'm going to call it, I'm going to bring it to attention so they know I ain't just letting it go under the rug and letting it be okay. This is not what we do here. We play the game right. And if you can call out veteran guys, guess what's got to happen? The young guys got to fall in line. They got no choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We've done a lot of talk about Boone specifically. There is a sentiment among some Yankees fans that they feel like, well, like, I don't like a lot of people say that like Boone is just like a puppet, and I don't like that terminology, but there's kind of this sense of like firing Boone would kind of just be a scapegoat, and the next person they bring in would also kind of just be someone that the front office kind of picks that fits their voice.
Yeah,
and
there you go.
It would kind of be more of the same. So I guess I'll ask it this way. How much of the way that Boone goes about his job do you think is, I guess it could be one of a few things. Is that just who he is by nature? Is that the Yankees telling him, hey, we want you to do this? Maybe it's both. Maybe it's that the Yankees were like, hey, this is genuinely who this guy is, and it fits perfectly with what he is, so like he doesn't have to pretend. So I guess when you look at it kind of from a, 1,000 feet up, like bigger picture, what was your experience like with the Yankees? I don't even want to necessarily say just front office, but like the organization as a whole, and how do you see that relationship as how much of that slice of the pie is Boone? How much of it is, if you want to use Cashman, like there's names that like Michael Fishman is a name that Yankees fans throw out a lot of the time because I think that it's just like they know who they found a name of another guy in the Yankees front office and they're like, oh, well, that guy must be the bad guy. And again, I go back to being like, well, most Yankees fans don't know what that guy's job is. I follow the Yankees as closely as you possibly could. I couldn't tell you what Brian Cashman does on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. So in some ways, I don't want to say that I can't sit here and critique it. Of course, it's I work in media. If I wasn't calling it as I see it, it wouldn't be fair. But at the same time, I recognize that I don't get the full picture, and I think there's a middle ground there.
Yeah, 100%. And I can only speak on my experience. I had great conversations with Cash. Cash is, his job ultimately is to put the best product on the field, right? And Boone's job is to go out and execute with that product. My experience personally, again, this is a guy, you're talking to a guy who played on 10 different teams, 15 years in the big league, 17 years professionally. Aaron Boone is top 3 in my, for me, that I played for.
Wow, high praise.
Yeah, I mean that. I mean, he's in my, I'm going to say top 4 because Jim Leland is number 1. I put A.J. Hinch up there, and I put Boone up there, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody that I played for a long period of time. Those 3 guys, when I look at it, they really stuck out to me, right? One, they communicate, they're honest behind the scenes. Jim Leland was the best I've ever seen. But one thing that I appreciated about Aaron Boone is, one, Booney was a grinder, right? He wasn't that super long time max deal type of baseball player. He had a lot of baseball pedigree and history in his family, but he was a grinder, right? So the way he manages, I appreciate, because he never forgets how hard the game is. And that's huge. A lot of ex-managers forget how hard the game is. So there's a level of grace that you need to have as a manager, especially in New York. The times have changed. Tell me the last time you get that little alert that says update your phone. Do you not update it, or you just let it keep going and you have to update with the times, right? So again, I think we can talk about Joe Torre, we can talk about Joe Girardi, who I love, but the times have changed, right? It's a different player. It's the sensitivity, like I said, guys that can communicate with players. Booney has a level of being able to communicate behind the scenes that players don't see. Now, when he leaves and he gets up, for me, it was like, okay, I feel better about that situation. The guy was honest. I knew my role. I knew what they needed from me. And nothing was ever going to be in question. And that was the experience that I got. So for me, he was a guy that when I woke up, when I was living in Fort Lee, New Jersey, I couldn't wait to get to the park. I couldn't wait to get there because I knew my role, because my manager communicated with me. I never went in thinking, damn, what's going on? If anything, I'd be thinking, I'm in the lineup again? Hell, okay, cool. But I'm like, well, I come in and be surprised that I'm back in the lineup again. So if anything, it's like, I think that's why he continues to get, brought back, got a contract extension, because with all the scrutiny that he takes, it's hard to find a guy that can take that type of scrutiny and still go out and come back and give this team a chance, right? Still somewhat lead the troops. I firmly believe that, yes, Judge is the captain, but I think any team is going to go how the manager goes. And when you talk about New York Yankees, you say what you want, it's going to be hard-pressed to find anybody to put on that uniform now that's going to conform to, hey, front office, this is what we want, this is what we need. Even if they go get Joe Girardi, I don't think Joe Girardi would do it because they're not going to let him do what he wants to do, right? So at the end of the day, most guys getting these jobs, it's very few Terry Franconas and Mike Schultz in between, and even those guys I think have updated with the times to an extent to where they're like, okay, bring the analytics in here, but I'm going to still kind of do what I think I should do for the team. That's very far and few between now, you know what I mean? So I just think it's like the grass ain't always greener type deal, you think you can go get somebody else to replace Boone, and it's like, who though? Like, tell me who. And I know people throw out names, and I'm like, I'll wait, because as soon as they start losing, let's see what they do. Or you gonna like him more if they losing, but he's just going, well, we playing like crap, we playing like, dude. Maybe you would, but it's like, Boone's done a pretty good job when you talk about wins and losses, man.
Well, it's so interesting that you put Jim Leland in that tier with those other guys, because I feel like when a lot of baseball fans think about Jim Leland, he's kind of like the prototype of kind of the old head, no nonsense, smoking cigarettes in the dugout, like that type of manager.
Calling guys out in front of the media.
Yeah. So I guess when you say that you have that you have him and Boone in your some of your favorite managers that you played for, do you think that it was just that Leland was what you needed at the early stage of your career and Boone was what you needed at the late stages of your career?
No, that's a great point, 100%. I'm very fortunate that I came into the game at a time where people kept you accountable. Managers sent you down if you didn't hustle, if you missed the bus, if you got benched. And I don't care if you're the veteran guy. Managers got in your face, told you that was a BS effort. So I was very fortunate to come up around, I feel like, a very accountable era, right? Jim Leland, don't play for the money. Show up and play because you love it. All the money will take care of itself. You're grown men. I'm not going to tell you how to dress or look. Show up on time. Be ready to play. I'm going to play the best. No ifs, ands, or buts. Don't give a crap how your hair or whatever. I'm playing the best. I don't care if you're young or old. It's about winning, right? But he communicated. He communicated really good, really great for a guy that was, decades older than me. His ability to communicate with not only myself, but all the guys was huge. And I think, for me, the best guys that I've seen, even when I watch now, you hear even players talk about the communication is so important, right? Because at the end of the day, guys just want to know what their role is. What do you need from them? And sometimes you show up and you don't know. And I think that's the most difficult thing for a baseball player, especially in this day and age. Instead of just showing up and making sure you're ready, these guys need to be told what the role is, what the situation is. And I think he just does a really good job of that. And I think, like you said, at the time, for both guys, they came into my life and career at I think, a perfect time. And not just for me, I think a lot of guys. I think the day and age that we're in, when you look around the league, and Booney has to do in New York, but I'll tell you this right now, if he doesn't manage in New York and went somewhere else, talk about appreciating the guy. Oh my God. It'd be like somebody else would be so happy to get him. And I know he's in New York, but I'm telling you from experience, I've had guys that I show up and I'm like, this dude don't know what the hell he doing. It was just bad leadership. Just bad communication. Let that guy go somewhere else, a little less pressure, a good roster, and they would love Aaron Boone. And he probably could be himself more. And I think a team would thrive.
So let me ask you this, because you kind of going back to what you said about Leland was maybe what you needed at the start of your career, and then Boone was, I'm a veteran, let me do my thing, kind of what you needed at the later stage of your career. When the Yankees let go of Girardi and brought in Boone, it was kind of because of exactly that they kind of realized all right, Girardi was the ideal manager for when we had, Jeter and, kind of CC, that era of team. And now that we got these young guys, we kind of need someone to come in that can speak to these guys a little more. But I think, you can say this way more than I can, but I would guess that in 2019, you still had CC and Gardner and those guys around in the locker room that not only were veterans, but had won in New York before, had been part of the previous regime and kind of had a little bit of that in them. So for the people that would say something along the lines of hey man, Boone's been here 8 years now. There's not a lot of managers that stick around anywhere for 8 years. Yeah. I think there's people even that like Boone that would just say at a certain point you just need a new voice, and especially this isn't a shot at the current veterans. Far be it from me to say a single bad thing about Judge or Cole or Stanton or any of those guys. But I think there's something to having had the CC Gardner type guys who were there with the previous regime, had won under the previous regime, understand what it takes to win in New York, that the Yankees clubhouse, you just look around and, even Rizzo was a guy who had won a World Series. I remember last year tweeting something about I think it was Rizzo, Soto, and a couple of the Dodgers relievers that the Yankees got last year were the only guys on the roster who had won a World Series. And now I guess they brought in Fried, and maybe there's a couple other guys I'm forgetting on the roster that have won a ring. But it feels to me as an outsider, I would guess that if you're going to have a generally younger, or maybe even just call it more modern manager, that you want a couple guys in the clubhouse that can kind of, be the opposite end of the stick there. And I don't think that's an unfair criticism of Boone. Again, I say that as someone who likes Boone more than a lot of people.
That's not Boone. That's any. Again, I always say look at. You can use the Cubs team. That Cubs team that won their first World Series. Go down that list, veteran after veteran after. Like, people want to act like that Cubs team was so young. No, they had Lackey over there. They had Ross over there. They had Zobrist over there. I mean,
Lester. They had dudes.
Like, they had dudes, like you said, CC Sabathia, Brett Gardner. Even when I was there, when I came, I know it was long after. There was still like a mist of like, yeah, this is what we do here, and it was a level of like, no nonsense. We go just beat the shit out of people. We go take what you know what I'm saying. I understand. I get what you mean. Like, there was a level of that leadership, and not saying Boone, but every manager needs that. No, there's not a young team winning. Ain't a young team winning the World Series. You cannot show, they love getting young, and this crap pisses me off. Can't show me a young team that's won the World Series. And if you do, they got a bunch of veterans sprinkled throughout. Pull up the Washington Nationals. Veterans sprinkled throughout, up and down that roster. Callie Kendrick, Adam Eaton, Strasburg. Name them. Veterans up and down the roster. You know what I mean? So I just think that's imperative too. Where every good manager, you have to have players that police the clubhouse too, that get guys in line. That's a real thing, man. You didn't look at Mike Trout. Mike Trout can't do it on his own. And I know I'm just using guys as an example, but you need certain veteran guys, and he ain't had veteran pieces around him. He's always, other than him and Albert, it's been a long time where it's like you need veteran guys to kind of show guys and teach them how to take accountability and wear it on the chin and stand at your locker when you play bad. Stand in front of your locker when you play bad instead of go hide in the calf or in the dining room. Come answer these questions. You know what I mean? So, like, little things that I feel like, get undervalued nowadays are the reason why we, you're looking for more managers that you can control, right? And they can just, at the end of the day, well, this is what I'm getting told to do. So just for me, it's like, I just question, because every time you talk about Girardi, players love Girardi. Like, I remember getting traded to the Marlins, and they almost, the players were talking about, boycotting the game, like not playing because they were so upset that Girardi got fired. Seriously, they love Girardi.
Wow.
Girardi is so even then, you want to go back to it, I look at, hey, don't blame Boone because they fired Girardi. Why didn't you keep Girardi? And then everybody's like, we should have kept Girardi. Well, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know what they're looking for. I feel like they found the guy in Boone who, again, who will be the scapegoat, who will take it on the chin, who will take all the scrutiny, and he shows up, but he never lets it waver between him and the players. And I think at the end of the day, it's a lot of organizations that are looking for that now. It's hard to find managers unless they're winning like Dave Roberts. Dave Roberts can call out anybody he wants on that roster. You know why? Because they keep winning. Certain guys Terry Francona has a history of winning. He gonna call guys out. So I just think it's a lot. It ain't just on him. It's a front office. It's the way the game has changed. Having players on your roster that you can hold accountability. Pat Murphy, great guy. He knows how to hold guys accountable where they're not in their feelings, right? He'll say something in front of the media about playing better where dudes don't feel like it's a personal attack. So I just think it's hard to find those guys like Pat, like AJ, and like some of these guys that you're seeing nowadays that are younger but still get it, that can also control the clubhouse.
When you look at the veteran core that the Yankees have right now compared to what they have in 2019, where, I mean, tell me if you disagree. I'm sure that Judge was like the guy by then, but my guess is it was still very much CC and Gardner's clubhouse.
Oh, yeah.
When you look at the core that the Yankees have right now, like even this offseason, they brought in guys, Fried, Williams, Goldschmidt, like they brought in veterans, but like Goldie's here on a 1-year deal. Fried and Williams, they're veterans, but in the grand scheme of things, like they're young for baseball terms. They're not, I wouldn't call them like grizzled veterans by any means. Do you think that's something that the Yankees are missing? Because like even a guy like Cole, for all the amazing things about him, he also kind of strikes me as just like a chill Cali guy. Like, I don't know if he's the guy that's getting up and giving the like, hey, we don't let this fly speech in the clubhouse.
Nah, this is for me, yeah, that's too easy. It's too much of an easy way out. I've said it time and time again. And again, I'll continue to say it. The Milwaukee Brewers are saving baseball. The Dodgers, you can say what you want. They're saving baseball. 2 years ago, Arizona Diamondbacks saving baseball. And I say that because development at the lower levels, the minor league levels, I just think the Yankees are not doing a good job of developing, and I think they worry so much about analytics and put the L screen over here to the side, and let's get this angle, and let's get the launch angle, and then exit velo, and let's get the numbers, and it's like, how about going out and scout guys on the amateur level before you draft them? This dude, screw the exit velocity, screw the arm. This dude makes all the plays. Let's draft the guy that makes all the plays defensively and he can hit. There are guys out there. I coach a group of 16-year-olds. I have a travel organization. It's the San Diego Padres scout team organization. I go get guys that can play. It's easy to get the rank guys and the tool guys, but it's a lot of guys with tools that can't play. So I just think you can, we bring in this guy, that guy, this guy. When the Yankees are winning, they play a fundamentally sound brand of baseball. They starting pitching was good. Bullpen was good. They didn't beat themselves on defense. Timely hitting, power. They had everything. The teams that are winning right now, the Brewers, moving guys over, getting guys over, timely hitting. They don't beat themselves. You have to beat these teams. That starts in the minor leagues, bro. Developing more than just, this guy's, he's big and he can hit the ball 30, and he hit 30, but he hit 230 and it's 800 OPS and it's bullshit that I'm tired of hearing. So I get sick and tired. We try to point fingers and blame. No, it starts with the development. There are organizations that are doing a good job of developing their young guys. The Yankees have to do a better job of developing their guys. So when they get there, they're ready. I think that's where it boils down to as far as that goes. When you talk about that, no, it ain't about bringing this guy. Man, listen, Father Time is undefeated. You go get Goldie. I love it. Started out great. Whatever, great clubhouse guy. But at the end of the day, you got to start develop these guys that you're going to bring up or you're going to trade for to bring in or you're going to sign. Bring in dudes that are fundamentally sound. It's the game of baseball. It wins baseball. Stop giving me this OPS, this BABIP bullshit, this war. Like, give me guys who win. Stop trying to tell me every offseason Luis Arraez ain't a winning player. Cut that shit out. Oh, Luis Arraez ain't a winning player. That means we want a dude who went back-to-back batting titles, finds a way to help a lineup every year, and we trying to convince ourselves that he ain't a winning baseball player, and every year he can't find is he going to get traded? Before you know it, you're going to have a dude with a multi-year batting title when he's a free agent, going to be signing minor league deals. Because analytics are saying he ain't a winning ball player. You telling me the Yankees couldn't use that bat? You shitting me? You telling me he couldn't play first base? He playing first base for the Padres. You telling me he couldn't use those at bats? You think they couldn't use those at bats right now? Stop it. You know what I'm saying? Stephen Kwan, Guardians to do it. The Guardians every year, Max, the Guardians find a way to be in it. I know the division ain't as great, but guess what they don't do for the most part? Every year they don't beat themselves. They don't. With dudes you never heard of.
I have mixed feelings on that because I think if the Yankees front office was listening to this, I think their counter to that would be, we developed Luis Gil, who won Rookie of the Year last year. Ben Rice might win Rookie of the Year this year. We have guys that can do that. I think the Yankees would say, go look at teams that have won the World Series in recent years. You're going to tell me the Dodgers aren't analytical? Like, for all the talk about
you're not
fundamentals,
but that'd be you and the Yankees not listening. Do the Dodgers beat themselves? Do they make errors?
No, they don't.
Hold on. This is my point. So if you're rebuttaling, you're just not listening. So my point is the Dodgers, they run the bases well. They play good defense. For the most part, they pitch well. The teams that win do these things well. That starts at the development stages, or if you're going to bring them in.
That's not what I disagree with.
Or the guys, if you're going to bring them in as free agents, or they're free agents or whatever, trades and control, they have to be fundamentally sound, bro. They have to do things where they're not beating themselves. The Perazzas, Oswald, and Waldo, all of them. I'm just saying, if you're rebuttaling, then again, you're in denial. And where there's delusion, there's hope. So you continue to stay delusional, and you continue to put out the same bullshit product. For real, I'm being serious.
I got you.
You're just not listening, because you can rebuttal it, and then you can make the point, and you make my point. The teams that win, don't beat them themselves. That's a part of scouting. That's a part of development. That's a part of at the farm. It starts at the farm. Most teams that are winning aren't trading everybody off. Now you get the Padres that do it, but even the Padres, they're going to get baseball. Laureano, defensive stud. Fermin, defensively stud. Can bunt, can get guys. That's what I'm saying. They're going to get baseball players. So that's my point. If you're rebuttaling, you ain't listening. And you're going to continue to struggle and have in areas like defense and base running and getting guy bull. That's what's happening. So you can rebuttal it all you want, anybody, not just you, the Yankees. But I'm going to tell you, continue to stay frustrated then.
Well, I think I think the point where a lot of people would disagree is I don't think that being fundamental or being analytical have to be in contention with each other. I think the Dodgers are very fundamental and very analytical. The Brewers, up until this year, like everybody, again, because of Pat Murphy and because, yes, their roster is just 26 dudes that do all the little things right. And you watch that, and that's a very satisfying product. And especially now with everything that's going on with the debates over, salary cap, finances in baseball, like that's something that's really appealing to a lot of small market teams. And I get that. And I don't disagree with you. Like, dude, when I watch some of the ways that, like, Volpe's playing shortstop this year, I'm just like, dude, these are things that it's like, how did you not perfect this in the minors? Some of the stuff that Dominguez is doing in the outfield is just like, this should have been drilled into his head. Like, the Yankees haven't had an actual left fielder since Gardner left. How has this dude only played center field in the minors? Like, the stuff like that, I totally agree with you on. I just push back on the idea that analytics and fundamentals have to be in tension with each other because, like, you use the example of a guy like Luis Arraez, for example. I think the reason that I don't think the analytics would say that he's not a winning ball player. I think the analytics would just say that for a first baseman, traditionally speaking, the first baseman on championship winning teams usually looks like this. You look at the Dodgers when they win the World Series. Who was their first baseman? Freddie Freeman. You know what I mean? And I know that's not a perfect way to look at baseball. I know there's a lot more nuance to it than that. But I think Luis Arraez is an example of like a very extreme far end of one spectrum, whereas there's a lot of other guys that are the total opposite end of that spectrum. Like the year that the Yankees, when IKF was like the boogeyman that everybody wanted out and was, bobbling balls at shortstop every single game, and the Yankees were just like, well, we like his defensive metrics. And I agree, that's the total opposite end of the spectrum where it's like, well, the analytics might say this dude's good, but we're watching him and he isn't. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you I don't want the Yankees to teach fundamentals. And that's another thing where I just sit here and I go like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know what the Yankees in their Tampa office are teaching guys to do. Like, I have no idea what they're teaching guys to do.
Well, I can tell you just from talk. I'm going to tell you because I know baseball players, the shit that they working on is bullshit. I'm telling you right now, the shit that they focused on, offense. Yeah, guys take ground balls clearly because I know people are like, well, they don't take. Clearly dudes do, but they're working on the offensive game way more than the whole game. And I think that's getting lost. So I don't even first off, analytics to me is just information. Everybody keeps saying analytics like it's something special. It's just information.
Oh, I totally agree.
All analytics is information. So if I'm talking, I'm not even trying to, if it sounded like I'm trying to equate the two, I'm not. I'm just saying I don't give a shit about analytics if dudes ain't, or like when I say analytics, when I say I don't give a shit about analytics, I mean like this. Dudes will tell you, well, his exit velocity is this consistency, or his whatever metric is this, but it's like dude's hitting 230. He's not playing good defense. Like, stop it. Like, so what about the player that ain't as pretty, that's getting the job done, that again you can add him or not, whatever, or you got an analytic guy who doing the fundamental shit. My point is that the players out there, whether you want to say they don't correlate or not, because I'm not even trying to my point ain't even trying to compare the two. My point is literally like getting ball, not saying they don't have ball players, or focusing a little bit more on like, hey, this offseason come down to Tampa. I don't know what you guys are doing. Like, take a million ground balls. I don't know. Play at different, but like these are things that like you used to have to work on. I used to go to spring training, bro. I had Dave Collins, we used to literally, Dave Collins used to take 2 buckets of ball, 200 balls in the morning and shoot them out the machine on defense. And I would just catch balls, different types, just catch baseballs and different types of, like, they're not doing that. It's all about this. But when you do that, there's developing holes in and I'm speaking on the Yankees, you watch them play, it shows up. The holes show up.
Yeah.
The teams that are winning.
Yeah, again, I totally agree with you.
I don't even know how, for me, I don't know how would I say how to even do it. I'm not even thinking about analytics. I'm just thinking about literally catch the ball, throw the ball. Win the race to 2 strikes, don't walk guys, get outs. Not self-inflicted, don't make outs on the bases. Play good defense in the outfield, last line of defense. I don't even know what they got to do in analytics, bro. I'm just like, just go get some damn ball players, bro, is my point. But I think they've got so caught up on analytics that they're forgetting to value ball players. And that's why I use Luis Arraez as an example, because, and I only use him as an example because the last 2 years we heard about, what could the Yankees trade for him? It's like, well, and then I see people like, well, he's not exactly like you just said, the teams that win. Well, what the excuse me? Well, what the hell have they had over there lately?
I mean, well, the Yankees last year got faulted in the playoffs because their base
I
running stunk
ask,
and they didn't run. So Luis Arraez is slow.
Hold on. Again, there you go. So we talking. So again, what have they had over there the last 4 years?
Yeah, it wasn't good, but I don't think that means.
But my point is, you wouldn't have taken Luis Arraez over what you been had at first base. You wouldn't have took Luis Arraez at first base in the playoffs last year with his at bats, possibly. You can't. And if you say no, you're psycho. You and every other fan is psycho. If you just man, that's where analytics gets people in trouble. That's where they get people in trouble, dog. That's my point. You can't compare Freddie Freeman as one. There's one Freddie Freeman ever. There's one Freddie Freeman to ever play the game, dog. Everybody else is way underneath that. Goldschmidt done dropped off the cliff. He ain't Paul of old. So I'm just saying, why people like you try to convince me with the Freddie Freeman. Okay, well, if you don't have Freddie Freeman, who else would you have rather over there if you can have somebody who they talking about trading and want to get rid of? Luis Arraez, you know what I'm saying? I ain't got Schwarber over there. Schwarber ain't playing. I got Harper over there. I'll take a Luis Arraez in the playoffs where we swinging and missing. Judge is swinging and missing. Give me somebody in the lineup that Mike could drive and run in, with run on second base and not swinging and miss. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, that's where I'll agree to disagree with all the fans who I think they're delusional. I think what you guys want isn't a winning. That's what I say. Trying to convince me he's not a winning player. Because that's trying to convince me he's not a winning player. And it's one Freddie.
I'm not sitting here and saying he's not a winning player. I think he does one tool unbelievably well. I don't like if the Yankees had, forget even at first base, if the Yankees had Luis Arraez off the bench last year, there would absolutely have been times in the playoffs where I would have said, yeah, we need that guy's at bats. And I get what you're saying, that not everybody's Freddie Freeman. And like, dude, last year in the playoffs, the Yankees were running out Rizzo when he was like very clearly not really a starting caliber player. They had John Birdie playing first when he had never played first. You stick
John Birdie over there, but you may have just keep making my point. I'm gonna sit back.
Okay, but my point more so is that I think a lot of Yankees fans would also say like, hey, Luis Arraez is also a little bit slow. The Yankees had a lot of slow players last year, and that hurt them in the playoffs.
He gonna play first base, bro. You ain't
okay, but the Yankees
bases.
like
you not. That's what I'm saying. My point is, you can make up a bunch of different bullshit on why Luis Arraez.
Ben Rice can run. Ben Rice can also play catcher.
Ben Rice also went ready last year.
Luis Arraez can only play one position.
Like Ben Rice also went ready last year, so it's a bunch of. You know what I'm saying? Again, you can bring up a bunch of what is. I'm talking about in the moment. It's like that's the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem, and that's why I'll probably never be in the front office, because I believe there's ways to win. I'm being serious. I believe there are ways to win, and my philosophy, if I had to guess, is more along of what the Brewers are doing, the Diamondbacks are doing, and I know the Diamondbacks, but I mean to get you closer until you can fill those pieces. I think you also got to spend money. I think there's a level of like you got to go get those few dudes to put you over the edge. But I think these teams are building a more of a conducive. Dodgers conducive winning environment than the Yankees are. Even though the Yankees fans are mad, I think they're building more of a conducive, long-standing approach to being able to win games than not winning games. And that's the game I grew up loving. Manny, you look at the All-Star games, these dudes hit for power, average, dudes cared about defense. This is the game I grew up. Everything I speak on is the game I grew up loving. Where guys cared about average, guys. When I signed, dudes did a lot of extra work on defense. Guys cared about defense. It wasn't just hitting. It got to the end where it's like, dude, nobody, hey, can I get some extra work? And they're like, well, everybody's in the cage. This is just, I'm going off my experience. This is just how the game is went. And it's just like, the teams that I won with, even say what you want about the Astros, the dudes, guys, they had guys lineups that guys could put the ball in play. Guys hit for average. Guys, we played great defense. We had good bullpen. It's like it ain't a blueprint that's been made up. It's a simple blueprint to winning baseball games, and the Yankees don't cover those bases.
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm not even really. I don't think this is even like this is left to the realm of being a Yankees conversation. I think this is just a baseball.
No, it's still a Yankees conversation on winning on what I perceive. Bad defense in left. Bad defense on really up the middle. Jazz ain't been very good. Third ain't been very good. Short ain't been very good. The rotation is banged up. It is what it is. The bullpen ain't been very good. I'm just saying, bro, it's not.
Let me respond to one of the earlier points you made. You were talking, like, you've used the Brewers and the Astros was another example you used. again, those are very fundamental teams. I'm not going to sit here and dispute that. Obviously, goes without saying. You look at those teams, those are teams that every single year have dudes that you've never heard of that are coming off the bench or even starting that, are putting up numbers that you would have never expected from that type of guy. But I think if those teams were like anti-analytics, or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but however you want to look at it, like after the Astros won their World Series, all of the smart front office team, or the teams that were trying to be smart front office teams in baseball in the coming years, the Orioles went and hired Mike Arraez from the Astros. Whatever, I'm blanking on other names, but like the Mets, perfect example. When Steve Cohen wanted to go get a GM, he said, hey, I like what David Stearns is doing in Milwaukee. Those are all like analytical guys. You know what I mean? And that's again where like
But they also go get baseball players.
Yes,
bro.
I agree.
That's the point.
I agree.
So I'm trying to figure out where we're not on the same page.
Yeah.
That's my point. They still
Yeah.
are baseball players.
But yes.
So
okay,
I'm just trying to figure out
I think we agree.
I'm just trying to figure out
on a
where
lot
I'm losing you. Where are we losing each other? Because I feel like we agree in low-key.
Because I just think this idea that like you need to look at that analytics just. I don't think analytics is a monolith. I don't think analytics is as simple as like this guy's good, this guy's bad. I think there are certain teams that would look at Luis Arraez. I think there are certain analytically heavy teams that would say he's exactly what we need. I think in a lot of ways, Luis Arraez was sure. If you look at just his hit tool, that's a skill that I think any MLB team would say, yeah, that's worth a spot on our 40-man roster. When you look at it kind of more holistically as a whole player, I think there's a lot of Yankees personnel or, any team that would say, well, as great as Luis Arraez's hit tool is, and sure, maybe that will win you a playoff game if you need a hit, and what you really need is just a dude to go put the bat on the ball.
The game you need to win most in the playoffs.
That's
what I'm saying. Like, but that's something they didn't have. I get what you're saying, but like,
yeah,
those are the moments that you live by. That's what this is about. It's like that guy that we brought in, we won him. That's why we brought him in. That's exactly why we brought Luis Arraez in, because he went 4 for 5 in the World Series, and he scored 2 runs and drove in a run. Like, that's exactly why. Like, that's the point that we somehow try to convince ourselves that there's no value in that. That's my point. Like, I get it. I totally agree with what you're saying, but it's like, you're just making my point. That's at the same time, it's like the analytics also is trying to tell people for some reason, somehow, that he only fits certain teams. Bro, it's like I'm looking at half the league could use that dude in his lineup. Because half of the league, when it comes down to it, guess what I hear people complaining about their favorite team? All we do is strike out, and all we do is leave runners on, and all we do is swing and miss. Oh, so now you give a shit about swinging and miss and striking out, where you could have had a dude who don't do that at all? That's my point. Is like we complain about it when it's timely, and he just happened to be the example we're using, because I think he's a great example of, I think, certain time, and it's just one guy. I just think there had probably been scenarios, even like this. And I give you a scenario, and this is me playing GM. I like Jasson Dominguez. He's very early in his career. I personally would have been trying to put together a package to get Jasson Dominguez out of there. Maybe another give me Stephen Kwan right now. Give me Stephen Kwan right now.
Do you think the analytics don't like Stephen Kwan?
I think it's something in analytics that said we got to keep Jasson Dominguez. That's the point. That's the point.
Maybe.
And again, this is just a guess. This is just a guess. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just only a guess. But I think to me, the question is not the analytics say something about him. It's the analytics said something like, "Don't give up Jasson." Like, what? Like, I think it's more along those lines where I think teams, not just the Yankees, but teams like the Yankees can get in trouble where you got an opportunity to go get some really solid pieces, and it's like sometimes we value for whatever, and I'm just throwing analytics. I think it has to do somewhat with analytics. We value the analytics and control. Control has to do with it a little bit, and I'm using it. I'm throwing it out there. You got to throw control out there. But I think sometimes something in analytics is like, nah, I know, like Stephen Kwan, little guy, I know he's done well, but no, something in the numbers say keep Jasson to me. You know what I'm saying? And again, I could be totally wrong. That's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. I'm just like, you go get.
I think there's a difference between like underlying metrics and analytics. I think
There you
underlying
go.
metrics
Yeah,
would
absolutely.
say, hey, Jasson Dominguez hits the ball way harder than Steven Kwan. But I also think the underlying metrics would say Steven Kwan's a way better defender than Jasson Dominguez. So I would be hesitant to just say analytics prefer Dominguez.
I think that's a great way to put it. I think that's a
Kwan.
great way to put it. I think you put it. I think that's where. Matter of fact, we had this long conversation, but I think that's the best way to put it. We had to start. I think those get jumbled up is the underlying metrics and analytics. I do think there's a difference. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because as we had this conversation, I'm thinking like, because I don't know what the analytics say, but I feel like they might not be great. Like J.P. Crawford, like you telling me the Yankees couldn't use like J.P. Crawford? Maybe he ain't the hitter and the Boston, but like I'm like that dude's a ball player. He saves so many runs. Like you know what I'm saying? But I feel like something analytics is like J.P. Crawford. Is he not a good? I don't know. The Atlantic.
I would need
analytics might love him,
me.
but I feel like players like that who they don't value as much for whatever reason, because you got all these numbers that make you value him. But I'm like. Same kind of way I felt about Didi Gregorius. Another conversation. I feel like he was undervalued. I don't know why, but I feel like Didi was undervalued. And he might have left maybe just in time because they kind of went down, but I feel like he was in a comfortable spot. But again, it's just certain players. I just feel like I think the eye test needs to go into play too, man. Like sometimes the guy, I've seen guys in AAA and the minor leagues, he may not may have the best body, but dude just can play. It's like, and maybe he might not make it, but like give him a shot, dude. Dude doesn't beat you. You know, a lot of guys you'd be surprised that aren't getting opportunities that won't beat you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, first off, this was like an awesome conversation. I hope you genuinely enjoyed it as much as I did. I think we agree on a lot more than we disagree on. And I'll say this. I don't necessarily think that every single player should just think about this the way I do. Like, as much as I am willing to defend these positions, I think players should go out there and be like, yeah, get a bunch of ball players. Like, that's the mindset that's driven you to be able to have a successful career. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say and conversely, I think that it would also be flawed if every single front office was only made up of ex-ball players who thought that way. I think you need a balance between the two. But I think we landed in a good place as far as what we're saying about there is, analytics can mean a million different things to a million different people. And that goes back to what I was saying before about the same way that Yankees fans would just throw out the word accountability when they wanted to point the finger at something. And it got so far that accountability did become an issue. And then the Yankees were like, well, they've been complaining about accountability forever. And it was boy who cried wolf. I think analytics is a little bit of the same thing, that Yankees fans would just get mad at, whatever analytics means to you for so long because it's an easy, just like invisible thing to point the finger at. Yep. And I think the Yankees actually did get to a point where it was like, hey, it sure seems like the Dodgers and a bunch of these other teams are running laps around kind of the whole rest of the league when it comes to this. And it got to a point where teams got very defensive of like, well, fans have, hated analytics forever, so what do they know anyways? And I think there's a middle ground between what fans think, between coaches, players, front offices, and I hope our conversation today got us somewhat closer.
Oh yeah, no, it was great, and I think the biggest part too, when you talk about analytics, right? This is what I learned. This is what I learned during my playing time about analytics. You can have all the information. So I'm going to say information. So the people out there understand it's just information. You can have all the information in the world. It's just about, are you giving the player the right information? I've been in organizations. They claim to be analytics, and they're giving me stuff that it's only hurting me. It ain't helping me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so a lot of it too. What are you giving guys the right information? A lot of that goes into it. You know what I mean? Because I agree with you. I don't think you can just be solely like old school ball player. No, I think, and I guess when I think about it, analytics has always been around. We just start using this new word analytics because it sounds so much, it's so much smarter than everything else. It's just information. Analytics has been around. It's been around.
Yeah.
But now I think we're using it so much, but it 100% it matters. You can't have one without the other, right? I just think it's all about giving the players the right information. I think some guys get too much information. It overloads them. They're thinking too much. Some guys don't get the right amount of information. You know what I mean? So I think it's a fine line and that also, as an organization, you got to know your players, your staff, what they need. You know what I mean? You may be getting, like for me, and information, I don't know what the information says, the analytics say. I think Jazz, Volpe, some of these other guys, I get Yankee Stadium, I think they need to change their approach. I see Volpe, it's a lot of uphill. I would love to see Volpe get more flat, and I know it sounds stupid, but like, maybe a hard ball, ground ball. I seen Arraez say it, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I agreed with him before, like a hard ground ball and line drive approach. I mean, these dudes did it for centuries and made a lot of money. And my favorite hitters hit for average and power. But you got some of these little dudes it's feast of famine. Jazz. I love Jazz at Yankee Stadium. I would love to see him go to center more. I guarantee he'd do more damage to right. But everything is. But the analytics say swing for the fences. You got the short porch and right. So again, man, it's a lot. I just think about it's the right information. But the conversation I definitely enjoyed, dog. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we'll have to run this back in the
Absolutely.
offseason at some point because most of our episodes are more so focused on like kind of guys' stories and careers and why they love baseball and how they got where they are. And I mean, it ended up being like we had kind of planned for this to be a Yankees episode, but it became a whole like baseball episode. But I think it was awesome, dude. Great. So really, thank you for taking the time to join us.
I appreciate you, Max. Hey, do more of this, bro. You're good at it. Do more of the daily topic stuff, man. Because I think you got some great opinions and some great points, and I think a lot of fans definitely agree with you too, bro. So I think it's a great. You coming from a great place, man. And I appreciate you having me on, big dog.
Means a lot, Cam. All right, we'll have to do it again soon. Thanks everybody for listening. Really appreciate it.